Thank you for watching this video. Please give the thumbs up, share and subscribe. Oh, and don't forget the alert bell. Primary goal was to change our transmission fluid from something like this on the left, which was the original fluid, into pure Dexron VI, which is on the right. As you can see, we're quite some way off achieving that. At the end of this video, I will show the analysis of these samples and where we are in terms of purity. Before draining, make sure your truck is level and that the engine is warm.
So the Hummer's ready for its third transmission fluid change. I'm just going to check the current dipstick values. Okay, here we go. Engine running, not idle. It's about halfway, just the ideal point to be. So we're good to go, and I'm going to carry on now and drain the fluid. I thought I'd mention the catch can that I got just as a matter of description. This is an 8 litre portable oil drainer that's made by a company called Draper. But the great thing about this is that you've got this catch area here. So you take the fill plug out and you put it into this place that they've made especially for that. And you can drop that there, and then you've got a little compartment there to put your drain plug out of whatever it is, your engine or your transmission or whatever, and you can put it in there. And once you've done that, you put the fill plug back in, seal it up, and then you've caught all of the fluid, and then you can measure it, do whatever you want. I'm all set up, got my catch can. I've got a tarp down on the ground just to catch any fluids that may spill out and stop them getting on the driveway, so we're ready to go. Daylight is beginning to fade, so we're illuminating with lighting. You can see there's the drain plug, and here's my catch can, which is roughly going to go in the drop zone. Hopefully get it right. Now all we need to do is just slacken off the drain plug. It's a 17mm AF plug. There we go. Yes guys, it is difficult with one hand. Gonna try and do this so that I don't get covered in oil. Fluid definitely looks a bit more pink this time. We'll just leave that to drain. It's nice and warm. So I'm going to leave that to drain for a few minutes and then we're going to come back to it. And I'm going to measure this fluid to see how much we get. We're looking to change as much fluid as we can. The more we can change, the better the purity we will get in the end, and the fewer fills. But it's not so much the number of fills, it's just the actual quality of the fluid that we need. So we're going to leave that to drain for 5-10 minutes. So we're draining the fluid. It's now dropped to a fine trickle. I'm going to put the plug back in, and now we're going to try and dislodge a bit more fluid. We're going to measure what we've got, dislodge a bit more. This time I've accurately measured the amount of transmission fluid drained out. I've already drained 4 litres, so this is another 100 millilitres, so total fluid drained is 4.1 litres, and that's accurate. This time I'm going to do the drain slightly differently. I'm going to lift each corner up and try and find out which corner causes the most fluid to be drained out. At the moment I've got the right hand side corner lifted with the axle stand underneath, and I'm just going to see how much fluid we drain out. Interestingly, with the right hand corner elevated, we've drained another 0.4 of a litre out, which means the total amount of fluid drained so far is 4.5 litres, which is getting better, which is what we expect. Now, I don't think jacking up the left hand side is going to help because the drain plug is going to be on the other side. So we're just going to see if we get any more by just jacking up off the axle stand and bringing it back down, and just see what that does for us. As you can see, I've got a full 400 millilitres, 0.4 of a litre, by jacking up the front right hand corner. I'd like to have gone higher, but I just haven't got a high enough jack. I think we could have got to another 100 millilitres maybe. Total fluid drained from the transmission was 4.5 litres, and I'm going to take that as a positive. I'm not going to bother with the other corners, it's a lot of effort and I don't think we're going to get any more. I'm going to put the drain plug back in. I think we've done enough. Okay, I've set my torque meter. That's it. So now I'm going to add 3.875 litres, which is 1 4-quart container of AC Delco Dexron. You can't see me filling this up and you can't see the canister, but it is AC Delco Dexron VI, even though it's out of focus. Okay, that's 3.875 litres. So now we're going to add in the balance to make that 4.5 litres, which is what we drained out. And hopefully it's back to where we were. As you can see, we've got a decant. This is precise values now, so this should take us up to the same level as we were before. There we go. All the fluid has been returned. I've just run through the gears, so I went up and down the gearbox 3 times and paused in between each time. I've done a few miles, got the engine up to temperature. It's around about where we were before, I think. I'm now going to check the transmission fluid level. So checking my fluid, we're right on the second hole. Maybe worth taking a smidgen out, but I think it's pretty good. So here we have 4 samples of transmission fluid. Sample number 1 is the original fluid taken before we changed the filter and transmission fluid. Sample number 2 is the first change, and that theoretically represents 40% purity. Sample number 3 is the second change, and that represents 60% purity. The sample on the end is pure Dexron VI, which represents 100% purity. So we're just going to look at each one of these samples and see what kind of colour match we get. So here's the first sample. This is the original fluid taken from the transmission. After we did 100 miles, we got sample number 2, which was the fluid we put in on the first service. Sample number 3 is the second change effectively. And then by way of contrast, we can compare these 3 samples to pure Dexron VI. So here's the original fluid. This one is the first change that we did. Then we changed it again, which is sample number 3, and that's effectively the second change. And this is pure Dexron VI. This is a graph of transmission fluid purity versus sample number. These are the numbers on the tubes that you've seen earlier. Now the first sample was the original fluid. Sample number 2 was the result of our first change, which was adding 4.1 litres of fluid. Sample number 3 was the result of the second change, which added another 4.1 litres of fluid. The change we've just done would be sample number 4, which is the result of adding 4.5 litres of fluid. Now we know that we can raise the right corner and increase the amount of fluid that's drained. So you can see it really doesn't make a lot of difference around this figure here, whether it's 4.1 or 4.5. We're probably talking around about 2 or 3% change. It would have been nice to have got to 90%, but that would require another change, which would then take us to 93%.
and we're getting very close. So it'll be interesting to see on the next change what the actual fluid sample looks like. If we take a closer look at sample number 3, you can see that the colour puts us somewhere between borderline and OK. Now I have to say that the OK colour looks very orange. It doesn't seem to match the other ones on this colour swatch that I managed to get hold of. So I'm not quite sure about that. So I would say that it's just between OK and borderline, but that's where we are at the moment. Thank you for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up, share and subscribe. Oh, and don't forget the alert bell.